Good evening, Colorado House District 64. So there's a lot going on. I know that I was wanting to recap on special session. I think everyone should have a pretty good feel of what happened during special session and where I stood on things. We did vote through House Bill 24B, I guess, the 1001, which was specific, the bill specific for our special session that was essentially going to be the compromise bill that would take the ballot measures off. And it was voted through to provide relief for taxpayers and their property taxes. It is a step. It's not a fix-all. It's not a Band-Aid. It's something that is relatively permanent. It's not official yet until everyone says, I'll give you mine and when you give me yours, between the governor and Michael Fields. But all in all, I think it was a reluctant success. We did have a lot of compromise. Republicans were able to bring a voice to the table and actually get some compromise this time, rather than what we saw get bulldozed the last special session and even prior to that with Prop HH, and when that failed, the piecemealed version of Polis's Prop HH fragments that went through in legislation through special session. But beyond that, I wanted to get into some other things because I've been very vocal about what's been going on in Colorado's crime. I think everyone, if you haven't noticed the crime epidemic that we have in Colorado, you're either a liberal Democrat that is trying to push your agenda and trying to use smoke and mirrors, Jedi mind trick, whatever you want to call it. I call it Officer Bar Brady from South Park saying, move along, there's nothing to see here. That's pretty much what the governor has done in his media messaging. That's also what some of the Democrats that I work with have been doing on their social media, trying to separate immigration and the crime that's been going on, and saying that crime has gone down. Just because DAs aren't prosecuting things doesn't mean that there's a dampening in crime. The crime is still on the rise. Temporarily, we might be seeing some of the violent crime, maybe even property crime, going down, thanks to a bill that was passed last year by one of my Patriot colleagues in the auto theft issue, making that more prevalent, and also starting a task force with State Patrol and throughout agencies in the state. We've been able to take a pretty good swing at the the auto theft epidemic that we had in Colorado. Still occurring on an alarming level, but I think the worst thing that we really need to focus on is the violent crime. Colorado is the third most dangerous state in the United States. Colorado, I will repeat for those of you that didn't hear me, Colorado is the third most dangerous state to live in within the United States. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what does. It's not about fear-mongering. This is real. This is what we are living in Colorado. The fact that the Democrats keep pushing legislation that not only softens punishment for criminals, but also we made ourselves a sanctuary state for the influx of tens of thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the border, just walking across the open border in Texas. Texas is getting 10,000 average a day. How can any state deal with that? Economically, infrastructure-wise, there's no way to deal with that influx of people on a daily basis. They've been busing these immigrants around the country. Colorado, I think, received 18,000 in a short amount of time, and that obviously became a moment where we started seeing an influx in cartel crimes happening in Colorado, with not only drugs but human trafficking and otherwise. You won't see that covered in the liberal media. You won't see that brought up by any of my liberal coworkers and colleagues. You have to actually do this research for yourself to see these things. The other part is we've had this influx of Venezuelan gangbangers, and they are obviously, if you haven't been conscious and breathing the last few weeks, they've been terrorizing our streets and our communities, especially in Aurora and surrounding areas there, but we're seeing it all over our state. Being a sanctuary state where our governor and mayor of Denver have both made our state a sanctuary state for illegals to come and camp here, to essentially flood in here and flood our schools, flood our hospitals, and everything else. Taxpayers are paying for it, and it's something that people think, okay, you're a racist if you bring this up. No, you're not. You're an American citizen. I know people that are here on work visas from Mexico that I've met that were deported based on red tape technicalities that weren't met in their immigration process and their process to get their citizenship, and they were deported. Those are hardworking people that immigrated here in a legal fashion, to be on a work visa, to work, to support their family and otherwise, and just because they somehow violated some technicality, they were deported. And we have criminals now, people that are here illegally committing felonies and misdemeanors in Colorado that are not deported. They are taken to the jail where they are booked, they are processed, and essentially can't be held. And since the bill with Lorena Garcia last session, where they banned sheriffs from working with ICE to get illegal immigrants deported when they commit crimes in Colorado, now they have to be released right back out into their community. So if an illegal immigrant is passing through a community, commits a crime, and is arrested, they're released back into the community they committed the crime in. We're just completely filling our communities with foreign criminals, gangbangers, terrorists, cartel members. It's horrible. This is what your community is seeing because the sheriffs have no way to hold somebody. They can't get their citizenship. They can't get their identification. They can't charge somebody they can't identify, and they can't work with ICE now because you have radical leftist legislators that are passing bills that completely undermine the criminal justice system for those that are here illegally from foreign countries. This is ridiculous. We have to be paying more attention as a society to what is going on every single year in legislature. And guess what? The Republicans, we are outnumbered 46-19 in the House. We have to get some numbers back to get out of the super minority. Right now, we have no ability to argue, to debate. All that we can do is make noise. We are on our heels every single day. When I hashtag all of my social media saying remember in November, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We have short-term memory, and not only in Colorado, but as America, we have short-term memory loss when it comes to all of these political disasters that happen in legislation every year, not only on a local state level, but also on the federal level in our Congress. When things are happening and these bills are passed, we have short-term memory. We forget in November, oh, it won't happen again. Oh, they can't get any worse than that. And they do. I remember before I ran for office, I had people telling me when I was so adamant about these gun control bills that were going through federally and statewide. And just, this is, all these are steps to get to some form or another, a way to disarm our citizens, disarm our society, our law-abiding gun owners. And people always argued, no, there's no way they can ever come after our guns. They won't go that far. They would never, how would they go that far? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not seeing what they're doing, it's happening. It's happening right before us. We are a couple years away from that if we don't fix things right now. If you didn't see the gun legislation, anti-gun legislation that's gone through this past 2 years I've been in office, it's horrible. And we have people that don't pay any mind to what the constituents want. We go for hours in committee hearing these bills and hearing the testimony of patriot-loving Americans, liberty-loving Americans that are there, these Coloradans that show up and tell people, I have a gun because of this. I was a victim of this. I never want to be victimized again, blah, blah, blah. But the simple fact comes down to America was founded on that. America overthrew a tyrannical government and became its own sovereign nation. We are facing the same concept now with these legislators that are looking to push us into a socialist country, away from a country of liberty, a republic that we were founded on. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America every single day. No matter what you're doing, you're saying the words. You might not even be saying the words if you're a socialist Democrat, but to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's not happening. We are being robbed of all of that. We have to simply get back on the page of liberty, stand for what's right, speak for what's right, be a voice, bring your voice to the table, both in committee and in any form. A rally, whatever you can do to get your community and people to stand for what we were founded on as a nation. This is getting bad, and we as patriots need to stand up. That doesn't mean we need to do what the left does and be violent and burn buildings and stuff like that. We need to be heard. We need to do what's right, stand up for our rights and our beliefs and our values, and simply the principles of our nation. And I see a lot of it, but we need to see more of it. And the best way that you can do that is getting out to vote in November. We have a very crucial election coming up. We have to get people to vote. 30% turnout that we saw in the primary election, no. It should at least be the opposite end of that. We should be 70+% showing up in voter turnout. If we're not getting 90% of our voters to turn out and vote, we're destined to fail. We can't flip those seats. We can't get liberty-loving Americans to be in these positions of speaking for the people. You know, we need more citizen servants to be in our House, to be in our Senate, and to be in our Congress. And you, as a voter, me as a voter, we have to do everything that we can to help other people out, to get their ballots in. You know, you can have 10 ballots on you per day to take to the ballot box. For those of you that don't trust the system, you can vote in person, but it's almost like I compare it to me going and saying I could never win the lottery, but I never buy a lottery ticket. If you don't buy a lottery ticket, what are your chances? If you aren't turning in a ballot, you can't just sit there and talk about voter fraud and election fraud. At least show up and do your part, and then we can worry about that after. But we have to get everyone out there to vote. Another big thing that's been coming about, besides this whole Venezuelan gang nightmare, is there will be more to follow on that. But we have some good news tonight. My brother, Representative Gabe Evans, running for Congressional District 8, his libertarian opponent has backed out of the race and fully endorsed him. So that gives Gabe that much better of a chance to defeat Caraveo and her liberal agenda that she's been rubber stamping all of Biden's ideas that he's been pushing to Congress. And she would definitely continue moving on to do the same thing for Kamala when she tries to fulfill her deed of not changing anything but being a complete puppet of the liberal leftists agenda. And anyway, we need to fix those things. We need to fix all of what we have going on in our U.S. House, our state House, and across the legislative realm, where we have the ability to change things back to some level of normalcy, some semblance of what we can be as an American state. We have to hold our ground. We can't keep running from this. We have to face it, and we have to fight it. And the only way to fight it is to show up and be heard. Tomorrow is the Legislative Council. I want to see some people there. This is where those of us that are on the committee are able to help with the language that is in the blue book for the ballot measures coming out in November. There are a lot of ballot measures, and you have to be informed on every one of them. There are some very bad ones, and there are some very good ones. We need to make sure people are voting down the bad ones and voting up the good ones. You're going to see ranked choice voting. You're going to see bans on hunting big cats. You're going to see a mid-level veterinary PA, a mid-level practice for veterinarians. Instead of a vet tech and a veterinary doctor, you have somebody in the middle that can be a master's level program. A bill that I ran last year that failed is now going to the ballot, so people can vote that in, expand our veterinary field, hopefully make veterinary care more available and more affordable for everybody. I have 4 dogs, so I can kind of sympathize there. But even for large animals, anything that we need, there's a lot of stuff coming out. Some of it is like I said, the ranked choice stuff. There's some good and bad. That's not good, by the way, but we need people there to be able to let your voice be heard, hear what's going to be in the Blue Book, spread it throughout your network of people, and get everyone prepared for what's coming on the ballot in November. It's coming right up, folks. We're in September. We're just over a month away from ballots hitting your mailbox. We're also 2 months out from elections. So we have to be on the ball, ready to go, informed, and motivated. We have a lot of energy. We had that 2 years ago, but we didn't get the voter turnout. We have to get the voter turnout, and we have to get people showing up to vote. Get that energy, help people get their ballots in if need be, show up in person to vote, go to the clerk's office, drop your ballot in the ballot box, not the mailbox, and do whatever you can to get your ballot in, get your vote in. This is very important. No matter how you feel about the election process, you have to vote. We need everyone to vote. We need all hands on deck. Let's scrub this, drain the swamp. Let's get some of these seats flipped, and we can get out of the super minority in the House. We can at least get some level of stability back. It's a step in the right direction. 2 years from now, we can do it again and get some more seats. We can pick our way back to eventually, hopefully, having a Republican majority in either the House or the Senate, or both. That would be amazing. Let's do what we can now to make sure we can get there in a couple years, or however long it takes down the road. We have to fight, and it's not going to be an overnight fight. We aren't going to have a red wave. We have to accept that, but we do need to accept the fact that we can flip seats and make a difference. So again, register to vote, get out to vote, and make sure you're getting everyone else you can out to vote, or helping them get their ballot in. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. I will be coming back again, but we got some events coming up. I'm going to be very vocal about some of my stuff coming up. Meade, I'll be in Meade for their celebration, their community day on the 14th. I will also be at Oktoberfest for Berthoud in October, so be looking out. I'll have a booth there. Come and say hi. If you see me out and about at these events, please stop by and say hi. And again, my opponent's raising money. I want to make sure I'm doing the same, so please help me out there. Donate if you can. Armagost64.com. Make sure you're doing what you can for every candidate that you've got a concern for. We've got a lot of very tight seats that we really need to flip and we need to maintain. So help where you can. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.